So, after my last video about Chichisei no Subare sparked a big controversy about Isekai and what makes an Isekai, I thought to myself, it's time to look that shit up. So basically what happened was that the majority said that this show isn't an Isekai because the show's MC is not really in the fantasy world, but is just playing a game about a fantasy world. Let's just Google that shit. Isekai. Wikipedia, let's see. Normal people, transported to a parallel universe, can be a virtual world such as Sword Art Online, And in SAO it's pretty much the same. The characters are logging into a VR MMO, right? So basically the fantasy world itself is just the same thing. Okay, let's just post that on this generic nameless board. Wiki says it can be a virtual world too, just like in SAO. Oh, I already got an answer. But they are not trapped. Oh, so it's only an Isekai if the MC is stuck in the fantasy world. Let's just look that up. Isekai anime. Oh, a top 10 list on Isekai. Let's check that out. Isekai Shokudo. These people are constantly traveling between the worlds, so... No. Gate. They are able to travel from the fantasy world back to the real world too, so... What does Wiki say again? A normal person being transported or trapped. In a parallel universe. So, being in a fantasy world is an Isekai, and it does not matter if you can travel back to the real world or not. But this rule does not apply if you're playing a game. So, if you are playing a VR game, it is not an Isekai unless you get stuck in that world. So, SAO is an Isekai and progresses to be no Isekai later on. Do I get that right? Many people said that the MC was simply playing a game. But looking at that Death March whatsoever Isekai show, that MC's user interface looks even more like a fantasy game's user interface. And he's basically playing a game too. What about Danmachi? That for me isn't an Isekai, but you will find it among a lot of top 10 Isekai lists. Why? Maybe because it uses a lot of fantasy game mechanics, like leveling up and learning abilities. So adding mechanics associated with fantasy games makes even a non-Isekai show an Isekai, even though it does not have the traveling to another world part. Well, I think most of us can agree that Danmachi isn't an Isekai, but we can also see with that example how important game mechanics can be to identify a fantasy show as an Isekai. Or at least a show with Isekai aspects to it. And I think that part is very important. So do we really want to nail it down to the being trapped part? A show can be an Isekai if the fantasy world is real, and then it doesn't matter if the MC can travel back and forth, but if the fantasy world is digital, the being stuck part becomes essential? I think this can't be our final answer because these rules are pretty fluent. The same show with the same story can either be an Isekai or not, depending on who we accept as the MC. Let's get back to Chichisei no Subare. Based on that definition, this show is not an Isekai. But if we view it from the perspective of, spoiler alert, the dead girl, it is in Isekai, because she's dead and can't log out, right? Or what happens if the MC's sibling duct tapes the VR glasses to the MC's face? Is the show an Isekai as long as the glasses are duct taped to his face? What happens if in the last volume of the ReZero light novel we learn that Subaru was just playing a VR game without being trapped in a fantasy world? Would that remove the Isekai status from the show? Well, I think we have to agree to disagree if you insist on being trapped as the crucial part. There definitely is something like a definitive Isekai. Zeronot Skyma or Isekai Smartphone, a dude that definitely travels into a real fantasy world and can't get back. That's the essence of a true Isekai. But we also have genre traits that are common among a lot of Isekai shows like modern people in a fantasy world, controlling a body in that world, fighting in that world with some kind of skill that appears to come from the MC's body itself? Are the characters living in the fantasy world? Are they fighting and struggling in that world? The line between the worlds has to blur so that we as a viewer can say how much of it is real and how much of it is the fantasy world. And judging from that, I would say that shows that are not isekai in the traditional way can also have a lot of characteristics found among isekai shows. But how many of these characteristics have to be in a show until you can call it an isekai or a subgenre of isekai? As for me, I came to the conclusion that as long as characters are living, struggling, fighting and meeting real consequences in a fantasy world, I will accept it as an isekai or isekai-like show. What do you guys think? Do you agree with my conclusion, or does it really come down to the being trapped part? Let's agree or disagree in the comments, and I see you in the next video.